The South Dakota Drought Tool is accessed through the USDA NRCS South Dakota website. By simply clicking on Range and Drought information on our homepage, you can access the most up-to-date drought and production resources. Using the South Dakota Drought Tool, NRCS develops up-to-date maps of drought and production status across South Dakota. The production data is provided for both projected peak production if moisture and precipitation is at least normal through July 1st, or when we usually consider to have peak production on our grasslands in South Dakota. Current conditions are also provided as well. The South Dakota Drought Tool utilizes Excel to predict production based on your location and the last 24 months of precipitation. Also provided on the website are complete Drought Tool instructions. By clicking the South Dakota Drought Tool and either opening it directly or saving it to your computer, anyone with an internet access can use the South Dakota Drought Tool not only to evaluate drought, but also to evaluate the productivity of your grassland based on moisture conditions. The South Dakota Drought Tool uses precipitation data from climate stations where they exist in counties in South Dakota. Nearly every county is represented. For this example, I'm going to use Butte County and the Belle Fourche Weather Station. The Drought Tool will allow you to go back and evaluate production conditions from 1994 to the present. By simply maintaining the date as now, I can look at the production conditions for the Belle Fourche area as they currently exist according to the Drought Tool. Once selected, those weather stations provide detailed precipitation information by month for the past 24 months. This is called a rolling precipitation calendar. So what we're looking at here is June 2012 precipitation data all the way through current or May 2014 precipitation. It's automatically received from the internet. Below this table, a user can insert their own precipitation information if it's collected from their own ranch or operation. They can put in all 24 months of precipitation and use that information to use the Drought Tool to estimate their current production situation, or can select month by month to override the information that automatically comes in from the weather stations. By clicking Next, the Drought Tool makes an estimate of production based on the past 24 months of precipitation. As you can see, the current conditions are favorable for grassland production, and the Drought Tool is no longer really a drought tool. It's a production estimate tool at this point. The South Dakota Drought Tool can provide for planning for forage or grassland surplus situations. In this example, we've got about 20% of normal production. This can be used in conjunction with other monitoring activities that can help to redesign or design your grazing plan, such as periods when yellow sweet clover may be especially abundant. In this situation, with around 120% of normal productivity, with the addition of sweet clover, we could easily be looking at situations where productivity is abundant and potentially as high as 150% of normal production. So in this way, the South Dakota Drought Tool is allowing us to plan and potentially be able to realize the opportunities that are out there on grazing lands. The South Dakota Drought Tool also provides some visual information regarding a precipitation comparison of the historic average to the current precipitation conditions, and also provides a visual display of the average high temperature comparison for each month compared to the current. By clicking the Finish button on the South Dakota Drought Tool, we get a full display of our expected current production and the projected status of percent peak production. This year, conditions have been very good for grass growth, and so were last summer's. So it looks like we're going to be at about 20% of normal production. The South Dakota Drought Tool also gives us a suggested percent of normal stocking rate, and at this point, it's recommending no adjustment because we're at least probably 20% of our normal production. The final summary page of the South Dakota Drought Tool offers both the precipitation comparison and the high temperature comparison as well as a drought contingency plan that can be customized for a user's operation or ranch. It breaks drought into 3 phases. A normal phase, which is at least 95% of normal production, where drought conditions are not currently occurring and do not appear to be likely to occur. Phase 2, or a risk status phase, which is when conditions are between 85 and 95% of normal production, and a drought status phase, which is drought conditions are most likely to occur, probably already are occurring, and we are already seeing an impact to our grasslands in South Dakota. Each of these risk statuses provide a place for a customized drought plan to be written and documented. It could include anything from early culling and weaning of livestock, alternative feeds and forages, herd consolidations that might provide for some extra recovery and rest to grasslands by having shorter occupation periods and longer periods of rest, or any other sort of management strategy that might help conserve forage resources on grasslands. Also within the drought tool is a list of drought contingency plan guidance to help give the user some ideas or some recommendations of strategies that might be implemented on your operation during each of the 3 drought statuses. So if you need help or assistance, please contact your local USDA NRCS Service Center.